Ambassador Ben stepped out of his shuttle onto the gleaming platform of the Zephyrian royal palace. The massive structure stretched high into the purple sky, its crystal walls reflecting the twin suns that bathed the planet in golden light. He had traveled for 3 months to reach this distant world, carrying with him the hopes of both Earth and the Galactic Council. Today's meeting would decide the fate of peace between humanity and the Zephyrian Empire. The Zephyrians controlled 12 star systems and commanded one of the most powerful fleets in the galaxy. Their friendship could open new trade routes and scientific exchanges that would benefit countless worlds. Their enmity could spark a war that would consume entire civilizations. Ben adjusted his formal diplomatic robes and checked the translation device on his collar. Everything had to be perfect. He had studied Zephyrian customs for years, learning their complex greeting rituals and understanding their deep respect for honor and hierarchy. His team had prepared every detail of this historic first meeting. 2 Zephyrian guards approached him at the palace entrance. They stood nearly 8 feet tall, their blue-scaled skin shimmering in the sunlight. Their forearms moved with fluid grace as they gestured for him to follow. Ben walked behind them through corridors lined with tapestries that told the story of Zephyrian conquests across the stars. The throne room doors opened with a deep rumbling sound. Ben's breath caught as he saw the vast chamber beyond. Hundreds of Zephyrian nobles filled the space, their jeweled clothing creating a rainbow of colors. At the far end of the room sat Emperor Rex on a throne carved from a single massive crystal. The ruler's ancient eyes held the wisdom of centuries. Beside the emperor stood a younger Zephyrian who could only be Prince Kael. The heir to the throne wore armor, decorated with precious metals, and carried himself with the confidence of someone who had never known defeat. His golden eyes scanned the room with obvious boredom. Ben walked slowly down the central aisle, his footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. Every eye in the room followed his movement. He had practiced this moment countless times, knowing that first impressions would shape everything that followed. When he reached the proper distance from the throne, Ben stopped and performed the traditional Zephyrian greeting. He placed his right hand over his heart, bowed his head exactly 30 degrees, and held the position for precisely 5 seconds. The gesture showed respect while maintaining his dignity as a representative of Earth. Emperor Rex nodded approvingly. "Welcome, Ambassador of the Human Worlds. We are honored to receive you in our court." Ben straightened and prepared to deliver his formal greeting speech. But before he could speak, Prince Kael stepped forward. "Father, why do we waste time with this ceremony?" The prince's voice carried clearly through the silent chamber. "Look at this creature. It walks on only 2 legs like a child learning to balance. Its skin has no scales to protect it. It has only 2 eyes and cannot even see all the colors of light." A murmur ran through the assembled nobles. Emperor Rex's expression darkened, but his son continued speaking. "These humans claim to be intelligent, but they have no natural weapons. No claws, no venom, no armor. They are weak and soft." Prince Kael gestured dismissively at Ben. "They are primitive apes who learn to use tools. They do not deserve to share the same galaxy with true civilized species like ourselves." The throne room fell completely silent. Every noble held their breath, waiting to see how the human ambassador would respond to such an insult. Some expected him to shout back in anger. Others thought he might storm out in rage. A few wondered if he would challenge the prince to combat according to ancient customs. Ben stood perfectly still. His face showed no emotion. He did not clench his fists or raise his voice. He simply looked at Prince Kael for a long moment, as if studying something curious and unexpected. Then Ben turned to face Emperor Rex. He placed his hand over his heart once more and bowed the same respectful bow he had given upon arrival. When he straightened, he spoke in a calm, clear voice. "Your Majesty, I thank you for receiving me today. I regret that circumstances prevent me from completing my mission at this time." Without another word, Ben turned and began walking back down the central aisle. His footsteps sounded loud in the absolute quiet. No one moved or spoke as he passed between the rows of shocked nobles. Prince Kael started to call after him, perhaps to add more insults. But Emperor Rex raised one hand and his son fell silent. Ben reached the great doors and passed through them without looking back. The guards did not try to stop him. They seemed as surprised as everyone else by his calm departure. Within an hour, Ben's shuttle lifted off from the palace platform. The ambassador sat in the pilot's seat, his hands steady on the controls as he guided the small ship away from the planet's surface. Behind him, the Zephyrian royal palace grew smaller and smaller until it disappeared entirely as his ship jumped to hyperspace. Ben finally allowed himself a small smile. He had accomplished something after all. Sometimes the most powerful message was delivered not with words, but with silence. The galaxy would soon learn what it meant when a human ambassador walked away, without saying a single word in response to an insult. The real negotiations, Ben realized, were just beginning. News of what happened in the Zephyrian throne room traveled faster than light itself. Within hours of Ben's departure, encrypted messages flashed between diplomatic posts across the galaxy. Ambassador Chen on the Corvin homeworld received the first report while eating breakfast with her family. She set down her cup of tea and read the message twice. Then she stood up, her face pale with anger. Her husband asked what was wrong, but Chen was already reaching for her communicator. "This is Ambassador Chen to Earth Command. I need immediate authorization for diplomatic action," she said into the device. "The Zephyrian Prince has insulted not just Ambassador Ben but all of humanity. I request permission to withdraw from the Corvin-Zephyrian Trade Summit scheduled for next week." Earth Command's response came back within minutes. "Permission granted. Make it clear why we are withdrawing." Chen smiled grimly. The Corvins had been humanity's first alien friends. They shared similar values about cooperation and peaceful exploration. When Chen explained what Prince Kale had said, the Corvin Chancellor's reaction was immediate and decisive. "The Corvin Federation stands with our human friends," Chancellor Orth announced in his deep, rumbling voice. "We will not participate in any diplomatic events with the Zephyrian Empire until they apologize for this shameful behavior." The news reached the Altarian science colonies. Next, Dr. Maya Singh had been working with Zephyrian researchers on a project to study cosmic radiation. When she heard about the prince's words, she immediately sent a message to her Zephyrian colleagues. "I cannot continue our research partnership while your government tolerates such disrespect toward humanity," she wrote. "Human scientists have shared our discoveries freely with your people. We expected better treatment in return." The Zephyrian scientists were confused and upset. They had respected Dr. Singh's work and enjoyed collaborating with human researchers. They tried to convince her to continue the project, but she had already packed her equipment and booked passage home. On the trading world of New Harmony, merchant captain Rosa Martinez was loading cargo when she received an urgent message from the Human Trade Guild. She read it quickly, then walked over to the Zephyrian trader who was waiting to buy her shipment of rare metals. "I'm sorry," Rosa said, shaking her head. "The deal is cancelled. I won't sell to anyone who thinks my people are primitive apes." The Zephyrian trader protested that he had nothing to do with what the prince said, but Rosa was already securing her cargo. Word spread quickly through the merchant district, and within hours, no human trader would do business with Zephyrian buyers. Ambassador Yuki on the neutral world of Haven called an emergency meeting of the Diplomatic Council. Representatives from 15 different species gathered in the crystal chamber that served as the galaxy's center for peaceful negotiations. "We must discuss the incident on Zephyria Prime," Yuki announced. "Prince Kale's words have created a crisis that affects us all." The Tenthari representative spoke first. "Humans have always treated our species with respect, even when others mocked our appearance. We will not tolerate this insult." The delegate from the Silicon Collective agreed. "Human engineers helped us build better communication systems. They saw past our differences to find ways we could work together." The Zephyrian prince's words show ignorance and arrogance. One by one, the representatives spoke up in support of humanity. Even species that had never been close allies with Earth expressed dismay at Prince Kale's behavior. The final vote was unanimous. The Diplomatic Council would suspend all cooperative projects with the Zephyrian Empire until a formal apology was issued. Back on Zephyria Prime, Emperor Vrex sat in his private chamber reviewing reports from across the galaxy. His advisors had spent all day receiving angry messages from various governments. Trade agreements were being cancelled, scientific partnerships were ending, diplomatic invitations were being withdrawn. "Your Majesty," his chief advisor said nervously, "the human ambassador's departure has caused significant problems. 17 different governments have already expressed displeasure with Prince Kale's words." Emperor Vrex closed his eyes wearily. In 600 years of rule, he had never seen such a swift and coordinated response to a diplomatic incident. "How bad is it?" "The Corvin Federation has recalled their ambassador. The Altarian colonies have ended 3 major research projects. Human traders have stopped all commerce with our merchants. The Diplomatic Council has voted to suspend cooperation with our empire." The Emperor's blood chilled. The Zephyrian Empire was powerful, but it depended on trade and cooperation with other worlds. They needed rare materials that only certain planets could provide. Their scientists relied on knowledge shared by other species. Their economy was built on complex relationships that had taken centuries to develop. "Where is my son?" Vrex asked quietly. "Prince Kale is in the training grounds, Your Majesty. He says the other species are weak for siding with humans. He believes our military strength will force them to continue working with us." Emperor Vrex stood up slowly. Through his window he could see the city below, bustling with activity. His people had no idea that their prince's words might have destroyed their prosperity and security. The emperor had lived long enough to understand something his young son did not. True power came not from inspiring fear, but from earning respect. The humans had somehow turned a moment of weakness into a demonstration of strength. By walking away with dignity, Ambassador Ben had shown the entire galaxy what real civilization looked like. Now the Zephyrian Empire would pay the price for forgetting that lesson, and Emperor Vrex knew that this was only the beginning. 3 weeks had passed since Ambassador Ben's silent departure from the Zephyrian Royal Palace. Emperor Vrex stood on his balcony watching the morning traffic in the capital city below. Something was wrong. The usual streams of cargo ships arriving from distant worlds had slowed to barely a trickle. His economic advisor, Minister Zara, approached with a datapad in her hands. Her expression was grim. "Your Majesty, I have the latest trade reports. The situation is worse than we feared." Emperor Rex took the pad and studied the numbers. Imports had dropped by 60% in just 3 weeks. Exports were down even more. "How is this possible? We have contracts with dozens of worlds." "The contracts are still valid," Minister Zara explained, "but the humans were handling most of the shipping and logistics. They knew which routes were safe, which planets had the best prices, and how to negotiate deals between different species. Without them, everything is falling apart." On the industrial world of Zephyr 7, factory supervisor Locke watched his production lines slow down. The rare crystals needed for their advanced computers came from the distant Andorian system. Human freighters had delivered fresh supplies every 2 weeks, like clockwork for the past 50 years. Now the crystals were not coming. Locke had tried to contact Andorian suppliers directly, but they spoke a different language and used different measurement systems. The translation software his factory used was actually designed by human programmers who understood both cultures. "We have enough crystals for maybe 10 more days," Locke told his workers. "After that, we will have to shut down the production lines." The workers looked worried. This factory employed 12,000 Zephyrians and supported their families. If it closed, an entire city district would suffer. Similar problems were happening across the Empire. On the farming world of Zephyr 12, colonists discovered that their soil treatment chemicals were not being delivered. The chemicals came from 3 different planets and had to be mixed in precise ratios. Human agricultural specialists had figured out the complex formula and managed the supply chain. Colony leader Vex sent desperate messages to the chemical suppliers, but each company claimed the others were responsible for mixing and delivery. Without the soil treatments, the crops would fail within a month. 20 million Zephyrians depended on food from this world. Back on the capital planet, Citizen Kira noticed empty shelves in the markets. The exotic fruits her children loved were no longer available. The clothing made from silk spider thread had disappeared. Even basic medical supplies were running short. Kira asked a shopkeeper what was happening. The elderly Zephyrian shook his head sadly. "The human traders brought us goods from all over the galaxy. They knew what we wanted and how to get it for fair prices. Now the suppliers want to charge double, and most don't want to deal with us at all." The shopkeeper lowered his voice. "I heard that humans helped arrange 90% of our trade deals. They spoke everyone's language and understood everyone's customs. Without them, we are like children trying to do adult business." In the government districts, Minister Zara's reports grew darker each day. The Corvan Federation had cancelled orders for Zephyrian crystal technology worth billions of credits. The Altarian scientists had stopped buying rare metals needed for their research stations. Even simple food imports were becoming difficult to arrange. "Your Majesty," she told Emperor Rex during their daily briefing, "our treasury is losing money faster than ever before. Tax revenues are dropping because businesses cannot operate without supplies. Unemployment is rising as factories shut down." Emperor Rex studied maps of trade routes that had been profitable for centuries. Red marks showed which paths were now closed or too expensive to use. "Can we not handle this trade ourselves?" "We tried, Your Majesty. Our diplomats do not speak most alien languages well enough for complex negotiations. Our traders do not understand foreign customs and keep making expensive mistakes. Our ships do not know the safest routes through dangerous space regions." The Emperor realized with growing horror that his empire had become completely dependent on human expertise without even knowing it. Humans had quietly made themselves essential to galactic commerce by being better at cooperation than anyone else. On Zephyr 3, mining operations were shutting down. The specialized equipment needed repairs, but the replacement parts came from 4 different worlds. Human engineers had maintained the supply contracts and knew which parts worked with which machines. Now the mining company could not figure out what to order or where to get it. Protests began in the capital city. Citizens gathered in the main square, demanding to know why their comfortable lives were falling apart. They had heard rumors about Prince Kale insulting humanity, but most had not understood what that meant for their daily existence. "We want our food back," shouted one protester. "We want our jobs back." The crowds grew larger each day. Emperor Rex watched from his palace windows as his people marched through the streets carrying signs. Some demanded that Prince Kale apologize to the humans. Others called for new leadership entirely. Minister Zara brought the most disturbing report yet. "Your Majesty, our colony worlds are starting to talk about independence. They say the central government cannot provide what they need. Some are considering joining the human trade network directly." Emperor Rex felt the weight of 6 centuries pressing down on him. His empire was crumbling not because of war or natural disaster, but because one young prince had been too proud and ignorant to show respect to their most valuable partners. The humans had built their influence not through force, but through friendship and mutual benefit. They had made themselves loved and trusted across the galaxy while the Zephyrians had focused only on being feared and respected. Now, Emperor Rex understood the true cost of his son's arrogance. The question was whether it was already too late to fix the damage. Emperor Rex stood in his private starship as it approached Earth's solar system. For the first time in 600 years of rule, he was traveling alone to beg another species for help. The mighty Zephyrian Empire that had conquered 12 star systems was now on the edge of complete collapse. The past month had been a nightmare. Half of his colony worlds were talking about rebellion. Food riots had broken out in 3 major cities. The government treasury was nearly empty as trade revenues disappeared. His own advisors were whispering that maybe it was time for new leadership. "Your Majesty," his pilot announced, "we are approaching Earth's defense perimeter. They are requesting our intentions." Rex took a deep breath. "Tell them that Emperor Rex of the Zephyrian Empire requests a private meeting with Ambassador Ben. I come seeking wisdom, not demanding audience." The response came back quickly. "You are cleared to land at Geneva Spaceport. Ambassador Ben will be informed of your arrival." As their ship descended through Earth's atmosphere, Rex looked out at the blue and green world below. He had always dismissed Earth as insignificant compared to the grand crystal cities of his own worlds, but now he saw it differently. This small planet was home to the species that held the galaxy together through cooperation and friendship. At Geneva Spaceport, a simple human official greeted him. No ceremony, no grand welcome. Just a polite young woman who checked his credentials and directed him to a modest hotel near the diplomatic quarter. "Ambassador Ben has been informed of your arrival," she said. "He will contact you when he is available."
Rex waited in the hotel room, staring out at the bustling human city. He watched people from dozens of different species walking together on the streets below. Humans chatted casually with tall Corvins, tiny Pixian traders, and even some of his own Zephyrian citizens, who had apparently remained on Earth despite the crisis. One day passed. Then two, Emperor Rex, who had never waited for anyone in his long life, sat in a simple chair and watched the city go about its business. No one seemed to know or care that one of the galaxy's most powerful rulers was staying in a budget hotel room. On the 3rd day, a message finally arrived. "Ambassador Ben will see you at the Memorial Park at sunset. Come alone." Rex walked through the human city as the sun began to set. The Memorial Park was a peaceful place with trees and flowers from many different worlds. In the center stood a simple stone monument listing the names of humans who had died while helping other species. During various crises, Ben sat on a bench facing the monument. He looked older than when Rex had last seen him, but his eyes held the same calm dignity that had impressed the Emperor during that disastrous first meeting. "Your Majesty," Ben said without standing, "please, sit." Rex sat beside the human ambassador, feeling strange to be treated as an equal rather than a superior. "Ambassador Ben, I have come to ask for your help. My empire is dying. My people are suffering. I know that my son's words caused this crisis." Ben nodded slowly. "I have been watching the reports. Your trade networks have collapsed. Your colonies are struggling. Your people are angry and afraid." "Yes," Rex said, his voice heavy with shame. "We had no idea how much we depended on human cooperation until it was gone. My advisors tell me that humans facilitated over 60% of our economic activity. You did it so smoothly that we never even noticed." Ben was quiet for a long moment, watching families play in the park. Children from several different species ran together, laughing and sharing toys without caring about their differences. "Your son called us apes," Ben said finally. Rex winced. "Prince Kale is young and foolish. He does not understand the complexities of galactic politics. I will make him apologize publicly. An apology might help," Ben replied, "but words alone will not rebuild what was broken. Your son needs to understand something more important than politics." "What is that?" Ben pointed to the children playing in the park. "Do you see that little Corvin girl who fell down? Watch what happens." A human child immediately ran over to help the Corvin girl stand up. Other children gathered around to make sure she was not hurt. A Pixian child offered to share his snack. The Corvin girl smiled and hugged the human child who had helped her. "That is why humans matter to the galaxy," Ben said quietly. "Not because we are the strongest or the smartest, but because we understand that when one person falls down, you help them up. When someone is hungry, you share your food. When someone is afraid, you stand beside them." Rex watched the children play, beginning to understand. "Your son called us apes," Ben continued. "Perhaps he should observe how apes actually behave. We care for our communities. We protect the weak. We share resources with those who need them. We build relationships that last for generations." The Emperor felt a deep shame wash over him. The Zephyrian Empire has always focused on being powerful and respected. We never learned the value of being loved and trusted. "Power built on fear crumbles quickly," Ben said, "but strength built on friendship can last forever. Every species in the galaxy knows that if they call for help, humans will answer. That is why they listen to us. That is why they trust us to handle their trade and mediate their disputes." Rex stood up slowly, feeling the weight of centuries of mistakes. "What must I do to save my people?" Ben finally looked directly at the Emperor. "That depends on whether your son can learn the same lesson you are learning today. The galaxy will not trust the Zephyrian Empire again until they believe your leadership truly understands the value of cooperation." As darkness fell over Earth, Emperor Rex understood that his hardest battle was still ahead. He had to return home and teach his proud, arrogant son what a simple human ambassador had just shown him about the true meaning of civilization. Emperor Vrex's ship approached Zeph Prime after his long journey from Earth. As they entered the atmosphere, his pilot's voice crackled with alarm. "Your Majesty, we are receiving multiple distress signals from the capital. There appears to be fighting in the government district." Vrex rushed to the viewing screen and saw smoke rising from several buildings near the royal palace. Military ships filled the sky, their weapons powered and ready. His heart sank as he realized what was happening. "My son," he whispered. The ship's communication system activated, and Prince Kale's face appeared on the screen. The young prince wore full battle armor and stood in the palace throne room surrounded by loyal soldiers. "Father, you have disgraced our empire by crawling to the humans like a beggar," Kale declared. "I have taken control to restore Zephyrian honor. We will not bow to inferior species." Emperor Vrex felt 600 years of wisdom crashing against his son's stubborn pride. "Kale, you do not understand what you are doing. Our empire is collapsing. War will only make everything worse. War will make us strong again," Kale shouted. "The humans think they can destroy us by taking away their friendship. We will show them that the Zephyrian Empire needs no one. We will conquer what we cannot trade for." The transmission cut off, leaving Vrex staring at a blank screen. His pilot looked worried. "Your Majesty, Prince Kale's forces have surrounded the spaceport. They will not let us land." Vrex thought quickly. "Take us to the old mining platform in the northern mountains. There is a secret passage from there to the palace. I built it centuries ago in case of emergency." As their ship flew toward the remote platform, Vrex could see the scope of his son's madness. Zephyrian warships were gathering in orbit, preparing for an attack on human space. Military bases across the planet were mobilizing troops. Kale was actually planning to wage war against the species that the entire galaxy loved and respected. Back in the palace throne room, Prince Kale addressed his gathered officers. "The humans have poisoned the minds of other species against us. They have turned our friends into enemies through their weak philosophy of cooperation. We will remind the galaxy why the Zephyrian Empire is feared." General Haas, Kale's most loyal supporter, stepped forward. "Your Highness, our fleet is ready. We can strike human colonies within 3 days. Once we show our strength, the other species will respect us again." Kale smiled coldly. "Contact our allies. Tell them we are going to war and expect their support." Within hours, the responses came back. Every single allied government refused to help. The Corvan Federation sent a blunt message: "We will not participate in an unprovoked attack against humanity. The Zephyrian Empire stands alone." The Altarian colonies were even clearer: "Any attack on human worlds will be met with our defensive response. We choose peace over violence." One by one, species that had been neutral in the original diplomatic crisis now openly condemned Kale's war plans. The 10-3 declared they would provide safe harbor for human refugees. The Silicon Collective offered to share intelligence with human defense forces. General Haas returned to the throne room with increasingly bad news. "Your Highness, we have lost all foreign support. Worse, several of our own colony governors are refusing to send troops. They say this war is madness." Kale's confidence began to crack. "What about our supply lines? Our weapon production? Most of our military equipment used parts from other worlds," Haas admitted reluctantly. "Without trade relationships, we cannot maintain our fleet for more than a few weeks of combat." As Kale absorbed this shocking news, alarms began sounding throughout the palace. Emperor Vrex had arrived through the secret passage with a small group of loyal guards. The old emperor walked steadily toward the throne room, his ancient authority radiating from every step. Palace guards faced a terrible choice. Some remained loyal to Prince Kale, but many others remembered their oaths to the true emperor. Within minutes, fighting broke out in the corridors as the empire split against itself. The conflict lasted exactly 4 hours and 23 minutes. Most of the military commanders realized that Prince Kale's war would lead to complete destruction of their civilization. They could not win a fight against humanity, and their many allies, while their own empire was falling apart from within. General Haas himself finally turned against the prince. "Your Highness, this rebellion is over. Half our forces have joined your father. The other half refuse to fight for a cause they know is wrong." Emperor Vrex entered the throne room to find his son sitting alone, his supporters having abandoned him. Kale looked up with defiant eyes, but Vrex could see the fear beneath the anger. "My son," Vrex said sadly, "you have learned nothing from our suffering. I tried to save our honor." Kale protested. "No," Vrex replied firmly. "You tried to save your pride. There is a difference." The emperor made the hardest decision of his long reign. "Prince Kale, you are no longer heir to the Zephyrian throne. You are stripped of all royal titles and privileges. You will be exiled to the research station on Gamma 7, where you will have time to think about what honor really means." Thanks for watching.